Would you like to know the stories you must tell to stop that constant feeling of, if only I had more time in the day, I'd work on things that give me freedom? Want to know the stories you are telling, losing you cells, keeping you exhausted, feeling like a failure and far from where you should be? And would you like to know the stories I tell that keep me fulfilled with loads of time and help me provide for my family? In this video, I'm going to show you why the stories we tell cost us the cell and how to change it. You must master telling stories because it will transform your life, and if you don't, you will stay in your current situation forever and wither slowly like a plant with no water and sunlight. So I want to tell you a Bible story that will transform the way you see things, how you do things, and get you better results. Because right now we all are telling stories. Some are helping you, some are holding you back from being the person you should be. I was about 19 years old when I started my last business. It was tough at the start because I didn't know about marketing, selling, or products. I was a beginner, so I spent much of my time on tasks which I thought were helping people, but were not. At the end of the day, I felt like I had worked hard, which I did, but on the wrong things. I would spend the day writing a long article, for example, on my website that I learned to put together myself, and at the end of the day, no one would read it. At the end of the next day, no one would read it. Weeks later, no one would read it. I would spend time doing things every day I thought were helpful, but were not. I was telling myself the wrong story. No one had interest, and it wasted my time. But then I learned about marketing, serving customers, and delivering value. I leaned into those things. And as I got better, people started finding me. I began making thousands of dollars a month in my 20s. I told myself the right story and things began to work. But this was the problem. The stories I told myself to make thousands a month were stories that are like the tip of an iceberg. You see the tip of the iceberg and think that's all there is, when really there's this massive piece of ice below. Making thousands of dollars a month from home like this was great, but I was telling myself a story which most couldn't see. It was like the part of the iceberg under the water that was waiting for me to collide with it. And collide, I did. I ended the business and the money stopped. I'm going to tell you the story I was telling myself that was like the hidden part of the iceberg in a moment, and then I'm going to show you how I destroyed the iceberg with a new story. As I was making this money, a few things were working against me. I always felt like I was too young to make this kind of money. I helped people 10, 20, 40 years older, and they paid me thousands, and I still believe this story. It seems very foolish to believe this now, obviously looking back, but I told myself I was too young all the time. Age is a problem for many people. I talked about this in my video on people struggling with the belief that they're too old, but because below the surface I believed I was too young, when hard times came, I would believe the story more, until eventually the business withered and I proved myself right. We all have these enormous iceberg stories which are waiting to destroy us once we collide with them. Some of these icebergs have struck you already, so you know exactly what I mean. But what you must do is this. It's kind of like getting into a bigger ship. A ship so huge, hitting the iceberg doesn't even faze you. It's like just swatting a fly away. So I want to tell you about Timothy. Timothy is one of the big ships I use to destroy the iceberg, the story that I'm too young to be successful. And for every iceberg, I find gigantic ships that make these icebergs feel like nothing as I destroy them, because they are. Timothy was a young man and he's put in a position to lead. He had some success most people his age didn't have. Timothy was a young preacher who likely would have doubts of, I'm too young, or how can I help people older than me succeed? But Timothy got advice from his mentor, and look at what he said. I'm starting at 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 12. It says, "Let no man despise your youth, but be an example of the believers in your words and in your conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, in purity." First, Timothy's told to address the story. You're not too young. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, Timothy. For this to happen, you shouldn't look down on yourself. So I tell myself, why would I look down on my age? Anytime the thought pops into my head that you are too young, I reject it and I say, I'm not too young. I'm the right age to do what I'm doing right now. but Timothy was also told to be an example in his words and actions. One of the ways I show my age doesn't matter is by showing people my example. I say things and do things that show I'm not too young to help people older than me, or anyone for that matter. I talked about advice I gave to someone older than me in my video on why it's not too late for you to be great. Because I spend a lot of time with people older than me, I know their language, I understand their pains. As a young preacher, Timothy had to live the life so those looking at him could see he was genuine. If I do these things in any arena I enter, I can get the same results. But the next verse is also powerful. Till I come, give attendance to reading, to exhortation, to doctrine. You are not always going to have your mentor when you start something new, but you know the things you must do. Read, encourage, and teach Timothy. That's what I do too. I read the things that are helpful for you. I encourage you to win in everything that you do, and I teach you how to win. If I dedicate myself to helping people like you, I will help people, and then it becomes clear I can help people regardless of how old I am. What Timothy's told next is vital. Pay close attention or you'll miss it. Neglect not the gift that is in you, which was given you by prophecy with the laying on of hands of the presbytery, the elders. You may not have someone lay hands on you and tell you this is your future, but what everybody in the world does have is a unique set of fingerprints. No one else has these. That means you are special and is your sign that you are here to do something special. I talk about this in my imposter syndrome video, but Timothy's told, don't neglect the gift. Remember earlier I talked about withering away like a plant with no water or sunlight. That happens when you neglect what you have. I stop neglecting my gift. I treat it like a plant I want to grow. I water it, give it the right soil and sunlight, and then it grows. I make a habit of using my gift to serve people like you every day, because the person who uses their gift every day gets better. So even if you're young, you've got reps. I remember as a kid watching the Olympics and seeing these prodigies, these young teenage swimmers or gymnasts who were beating the grown-ups. That's an example of why age doesn't matter. If you work on your gift every day, it will become clear for others to see. But it's not only about physical work. Earlier I said, when the story popped into my head that I'm too young, then I failed. But to overcome it, I said things like, I'm not too young, I'm the right age to do what I'm doing right now. Everything is about the story we tell. That's why verse 15 is special. It's something you must pay attention to if you want to start telling yourself the right stories. It says, meditate upon these things, give yourself wholly to them, that your profiting may appear to all. Meditate on these things. What things? Age is but a number. My words and my actions speak louder than my age. What else? Meditate on doing things like reading to, encouraging, and teaching people like you who I serve. Meditate on looking after your special gift only you have. I don't fill my mind with a story that's the iceberg below. I fill my mind with something greater. He says, meditate on these things. Give yourself wholly. That means give everything to them. Go all in on the person you are created to be. And notice what the Bible says happens for Timothy when he did these things, even though he was young. Your profit, your growth appears to all. We all want profits, but notice your profit that everyone can see is on the other side of the true story you believe. I'll let you go back 10 seconds to catch that. Look at verse 16. Take heed unto thyself and unto the doctrine, continue in them, for in doing this you shall both save yourself and them that hear you. Pay attention to yourself. Focus on yourself, not others, and the teaching. Stay consistent at this, because when you do this, you will save yourself, you help yourself, and he says, them that hear you. You cannot help someone else if you have not helped yourself. I can't tell you how to overcome stories you tell that cost you the sell if I haven't done it myself. Think about the stories you tell that cost you the sell and do exactly what I did. I found things that are true and replaced the deadly story with those life-giving stories. Now I'm empowered to keep moving across the sea, and it will be the same for you when you act like me. Go win and God bless.